in the real estate committee, under the Realtors Code of Ethics, one of the first lines there is, under all is the land. And in the country that we're in, where entrepreneurship is valued, and the investment that we can make for our future is valued, there's a certain assumption that when someone makes an investment, they should have the ability to use that investment for its highest and best use. But everybody has that same right with their property, whether it's somebody who owns 4,000 acres or somebody who owns a quarter of an acre. So everybody has the right to full enjoyment and using it for the best use that they can. So you have then this balance between what one person's rights is and when they infringe on another person's rights. It's kind of like when you say, well, your rights stop where my nose begins, in that you can do what you want to do as long as it's not adversely affecting me. And this is where I've had quite a bit of struggle with the fact that, okay, the individual people who have properties either within the specific plan or close to the specific plan, are they going to be negatively impacted if this plan goes forward? And that's what this whole general plan amendment is about, is changing the use of that land. So I took a look at a lot of the comments, and I also took into account some of the things that the applicant said. And he brought up one thing that I didn't agree with, and I thought, well, I've got to do some research on this. And that was where he showed on one of his slides that properties within the area of Skechers went up in value a lot more than properties on the other side of town. And I thought, no, there's too many other things involved here other than just location. And it could be that that's where the larger half-acre properties were and that there was more demand, or you know, whatever it was. So I did a little research myself, and I pulled from each one of the zip codes in Moreno Valley, and I restricted it to similar houses, so we had apples to apples, and to properties that were built prior to 2012, when the Skechers project was in full swing. And I found that beginning in January 1st of 2012 to now, there was an average about 70% increase in value across the entire city of Moreno Valley in single-family residences. But the lowest increase in that specific type of home, which I pulled up just between 1,500 and 2,000 square feet built before 2012, the lowest percentage, not by a whole bunch, was in the 92555 zip code, which is the zip code that Skechers is in. But I felt that that was a better determination of value than just pulling one specific area on one side of town and one specific area on the other side of town. The difference was no more than 10% in the difference between the increases in value. But it was across the entire city, which means that it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that there was a Skechers built there. There's a lot more that's involved, like the lower interest rates, the economy getting better, and so forth and so on. So then, okay, that kind of, for me, put that aside, that building a house right next to Skechers isn't going to make it worth more or make it worth less. And there are really no houses really close to Skechers anyway. Some of the other warehouse projects, as we noted on the south side of town, have houses closer to them, and they did not seem to be negatively affected as far as the increase in value. The increase in value was very similar across the entire city. So then I looked at, okay, now who are the people who are most specifically affected by this project? And that would be the 7 or so households that are within the specific plan, which means that they're going to have a zoning change. They're going to be changing from residential to some type of commercial zoning. And so I did a little search on that also. And one of the things I noticed when I was reading the letters from a couple of those people is that they said several times, this is going to ruin the value of our property as a residence. And I'm like, yeah, as a residence. Is it going to negatively affect you in the long run? And so I went and I looked. I took for that same period of time, January 1st of 2012 to the present, and I took residential zoning versus non-residential zoning and looked at the price per square footage over that period of time. And the price per square foot for non-residential zoning is approximately double what it is for residential zoning. So the people who are saying my property will not be worth anything as a residence are not necessarily going to be negatively impacted in the long run. You have to look at, excuse me, I'm not doing, okay. When someone is negatively impacted, let's say, for example, you bought a house with a beautiful view of the ocean, and somebody built a property in front of you that devalued yours because it was an eyesore or because it cut out your view or something like that. If there is a monetary change in the value of your property, then you are harmed by the person who built that eyesore in front of you. But can we say that somebody is monetarily damaged with a property that is changing from residential zoning to commercial zoning of some type, and the value of their property goes up? They may need to change their plans. A lot of people change their plans, especially if they've been living in a property for a long time. The kids are grown, they moved out, they decide, okay, now I'm going to move to another area, I'm going to buy a newer home, I'm going to downsize, whatever it is. They can do that, and it doesn't mean that they're going to lose their quality of life because of this change. So when I'm looking at the general plan amendment, that's what I'm looking at. Is it going to negatively affect Moreno Valley as a whole? I don't think so. Is it going to bring as many jobs as what are expected? Maybe not. But how many jobs is the vacant land bringing right now? And so when you're looking at it, and you're looking at all the traffic studies and everything else like that, it's like, okay, you're having traffic studies, how much it's going to increase the traffic compared to what? Vacant land? Yeah, but compared to other type of development, maybe not. So that's kind of my comments on the general plan amendment, is looking at it in terms of, is it going to be of value to the city of Moreno Valley? Yes, it's going to increase tax revenue, it's going to increase jobs, and it's not going to negatively impact the value of the residential properties or the value of the properties that are being changed in zoning.